The Hyundai IONIQ 5 was first introduced for the 2022 model year and was Hyundai's first electric vehicle to be based on the new eGMP platform, which stands for Electric Global Modular Platform. The eGMP platform is a dedicated electrified platform which allows Hyundai to produce a wide array of electrified vehicles ranging from sedans to SUVs, which is what we can expect moving forward from the brand. Since being introduced, the Hyundai IONIQ 5 has won a lot of awards and has quickly become a popular vehicle among consumers looking to get into an electric vehicle. Based on the Hyundai 45 concept that was unveiled a few years ago, the IONIQ 5 is a futuristic and modern-looking electric vehicle that offers a lot of practicality, safety, performance, and technology. The one we are testing today is the top limited all-wheel drive trim in the optional Shooting Star matte paint, which costs an extra $1,000, and the limited all-wheel drive maxes out at around $57,000 after taxes and fees are taken into consideration. With an estimated EPA range for the all-wheel drive limited trim of around 256 miles, you do get a lot of technology, including an 800-volt charging architecture, which means at a Green 7 or 350 kilowatt fast charger, and in the right conditions, the IONIQ 5 can charge from 10% to 80% in about 18 minutes. The IONIQ 5 offers a lot of value for the money. But let's move on to the exterior of the IONIQ 5, which is very unique in an extremely good way. As mentioned earlier in the video, the IONIQ 5 is based on the Hyundai 45 concept, which foreshadowed a lot of the design path that Hyundai was about to walk down. The IONIQ 5 design appears retro but futuristic at the same time, blending aggressive curves, lines, and edges into an SUV or hatchback silhouette. This matte Shooting Star exterior paint is an option. While we think it is gorgeous, some drivers will be happy to know that metallic paints are available as well. One of the coolest design features of the IONIQ 5 is pixelated front-end squared-off headlights with pixel designs etched into the LED daytime running lights that also act as your turn signal, which is a really cool design. And then these pixels then run across the black portion of the front end, which gives it a very unique grille. And I really think that it's just a design aspect that works very well for the IONIQ 5. I really like this design, and it reminds me of video games that I used to play as a kid. LED headlights are standard on all trims. SE Standard Range and SE trims receive reflector LED headlights, whereas the SEL and Limited get projector-style headlights. So just keep in mind, we really like how far back the headlights sit underneath the clamshell hood, which from certain angle gives the IONIQ 5 a level of sportiness. The clamshell hood also provides a clean design element that really ties the front end together on the IONIQ 5. Matte chrome also accentuates the exterior of the IONIQ 5 Limited, adding a nice bit of contrast color to the body color of the vehicle. Lower level trims like the SE and SEL receive black cladding that also gives the IONIQ 5 a more rugged appearance. Active grille shutters in the lower front grille is standard on all trims, which is really nice, and automatic retracting flush door handles are also standard on all trims, which we felt were really easy to utilize, and it definitely provides a nice sense of aerodynamics for the exterior of the IONIQ 5. Also, one thing to note, on the back of the IONIQ 5, LED taillights are standard on all trims. However, in order to get the LED light bar that stretches across the back of the IONIQ 5, you will have to go up to the higher trims like the SEL or the Limited.
Now that we've seen the exterior of the IONIQ 5, let's hop into the interior of the IONIQ 5 Limited. This has the two-toned gray and green interior option. You can also opt in the two-tone gray or also black if you prefer, but this would be my preference because I like this two-tone, and I also really like the orange stitching on the door cards and then also on the seats as well. Speaking of the seats, the Limited does offer the relaxation seats, where as a click of a button, the seat will fold flat, and you also have a footrest on it too, so you can relax while you're charging. The seats in Limited also offer heated and ventilation seats as well, and they are fully powered and memory as well. When you hop into the IONIQ 5, it has a great step in height, so you can easily get in and out of the vehicle. Then here is the dash. You have the two 2.3-inch HD displays, one for the driver and then one for all your infotainment. A cool feature that I love here about the center console is it's so big, you actually fit a bag or a backpack there, and it also slides, which I think is a really creative and great feature. So if you need more leg room, you can easily slide that out of the way. Now, in order to start the IONIQ 5, you have to have the key fob within the car. You put your foot on the brake, and then there is a button here on the dash to push to start. Once the vehicle comes alive, you see right here, here's the driver display, and then you can also see the blind spot camera here that comes on the Limited trim, which is really handy. And then here is the infotainment display. A thing that I love about the IONIQ 5 is, unlike its sister, the EV6, I love that there are separate buttons for the audio and maps, and then also for the climate control. The Kia puts them together, but I'm so glad that the IONIQ 5 keeps it separate. Infotainment is still the same as the EV6, very, very similar. The software is great, really responsive, easy to use. And there's lots of controls, and here is where your drive mode switch is on the steering wheel, and you can change it into different drive modes such as Sport, Normal, and Eco, depending on your driving preference. Now, moving over, you also do have the regen shifters as well. So if you want to shift regen into a low level or high level, you can do so. Lighting control is on the left-hand side, and then here are the options for your controls on the left as well. But yeah, I think the climate, even though it is touch capacitive, it is really easy to use. And then coming up from the dash, you will have Hyundai's Vision roof, only in limited trim. You can open it using a sunshade. It is only a glass roof, so it doesn't open like a panel roof, but it's nice to bring in some natural light. And I'm really glad that Hyundai offers this in the limited trim. It's really nice, it's really airy, and I like how much light it brings into this light cabin. Now, one big advantage of the IONIQ 5 Limited is it does have a heads-up display, and this is a great thing because we found that the steering wheel kind of blocks our speed depending on the position that we have it at that's comfortable for us, but the heads-up display comes in handy to see your speed. The steering wheel feels great. I like that the steering stock to change your gears is right here. You can kind of just twist it as a knob, and then you can see the 360 camera that comes on the limited trim. Put it back into park, you just press that P button there on the side. But the steering wheel feels really great in the hand. I like how it feels, and the controls in the steering wheel have a nice tactile feel to them. It feels very premium and very much of the price point that Hyundai is asking for the IONIQ 5 Limited. So I definitely give this interior a really great rating. Now that we've been in the front seat, let's hop into the back of the IONIQ 5. So you still have the same amount of materials, same type of materials in the rear, but you also have a sunshade only available in limited trim. But I really like how these seats look in the rear as well. Now, stepping into the vehicle, there is a lot of space here thanks to the glass roofs. Whether you're tall or short, you're still going to have a lot of headroom and legroom because of how cavernous this vehicle is. I definitely like that this brings in a lot of natural light thanks to this Vision roof that Hyundai offers in limited trim. But you do have USB ports back here as well, and your air vents are on the B pillars actually, which is actually a really great touch. But what I wanted to highlight is if you fold the seats down, you do get kind of a flat load floor, so you can definitely fold those if you wanted to and get more there. You can also recline these seats back and forward depending on your position and if you want to relax a little bit in your car. Now, heading over to the cargo space, we're looking at about 27.2 cubic feet with the seats up and then about 59.3 with the seats down. It lacks a little on cargo space compared to other vehicles, but I still think it offers quite a lot. Okay, so here we are in the 2022 Hyundai IONIQ 5 Limited.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
The fully loaded version of the Hyundai IONIQ 5.
And this is in Shooting Star, and we are in the two-tone green and kind of like the white interior with the orange stitching, which actually looks really nice in person.
Yeah. And the one thing that we've noticed is that we can't get over just how much space there is in this vehicle. You know, sometimes with panoramic roofs, you know, I run into headroom issues, but there's just such a large amount of space in this cabin.
You have a lot.
Yes, yes. So we're going to get going and do some driving impressions. Oh, the heads-up display is really messing me up.
Oh, is it? We're not used to the heads-up display.
Is there a way to turn that off, or is that always going to be on?
I think it's in the menu, I think.
Okay, I'll have to figure that out. Until then, I will ignore the heads-up display. Because heads-up displays always throw me off just because it's a bit, something I'm not used to. I've never really driven a vehicle with a heads-up display. But to give you guys an idea of what I'm seeing, I'm just basically seeing the speed. And I believe if I had some navigation going, I would then see some, you know, where to turn, how far away I am from that specific street or whatever my destination. So, but right now, all I'm seeing is the speed. So this is riding on 20-inch wheels, and on this cement road that we're on, I would say it feels pretty comfortable. It doesn't feel bumpy at all. The IONIQ 5 definitely has more of a softer suspension, which feels nice. It's more tuned for the luxury side of driving, and overall it definitely feels nice. Another thing that I do want to mention, similar to our video of the Kona electric, The IONIQ 5 does have paddles on the steering column that allows you to adjust the regenerative braking. But unlike the Kona electric, the IONIQ 5 actually has one pedal driving. The only thing that we have noticed is that when you turn the vehicle off, it does not remember that setting, at least not right now. So hopefully a future software update, they adjust that. But that's one thing to keep in mind. Another cool feature that this has is when you put your blinker on, the camera in the side mirror actually pops up to show you your blind spot in a camera feed, which is really cool.
It's really nice.
You know, we've been in vehicles that have that, but to have it directly in front of you, that's a very nice feature to have. But as mentioned, you know, the interior of the IONIQ 5 is very, very quiet. It's very well made. These seats are extremely comfortable. There's a lot of support. And overall, it's a joy, I think, to be in on these city streets. As a passenger, how do you feel?
Yeah, I like how quiet and serene it is inside of the IONIQ 5. Hyundai did a really great job with the sound deadening, I think, on the IONIQ 5. As the passenger, I'm just as comfortable in my seat. This in limited trim, my seat is powered, so it's nice to kind of have that range of adjustability there. But lots of leg room, and I can also move the center tunnel that's only available in the limited. So if I want more leg room, I can stretch out if I wanted to. Yeah, no, actually, like, really comfortable. I like the door panels here are nice and soft and padded to rest my entire arm on, which is very unique, I think, for a car, because a lot of cars, you can't rest your entire arm on a single portion of the door panel. And it's actually really nice just to have it all resting right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall Hyundai did a really good job focusing on passenger and driver comfort. These, I mean, as I mentioned, these seats are super comfortable, and the fact that it's just such an open vehicle really makes it feel really comfortable. Now, on the outside of the IONIQ, it does make it look like a bigger SUV. I know it has the wheelbase almost the same size as the Palisade, which is Hyundai's big 3-row SUV, which makes on the inside cavernous. It's very impressive.
It does, especially in the rear. In the second row, you do have a lot of leg room and everything like that. The one downside, I think I would say, is I feel like you sacrifice a little bit on cargo volume than you might of other competitors. But I still think there's plenty of cargo room for all your needs for daily driving and even on weekend trips or even going across country if you wanted to. Plenty of storage for that, but I think the Hyundai wants to give you more driver passenger and rear passenger space than they do cargo volume, which really isn't a bad thing because it creates a different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I do want to highlight is steering feel. The vehicle does feel very light at the touch, which is not a bad thing. It definitely has a lot of driver assistance in terms of it being electric, but overall the steering column the steering wheel feels solid in the hand and it feels easy to drive, which is really nice. And there's a lot of feedback from the tires, in my opinion at least, so I can get a good understanding of what's happening outside of the vehicle. So we are going to switch drivers. That way Tyler can get a chance behind the wheel of the IONIQ 5.
Okay, so one of the things that we just tried out in the IONIQ 5 Limited was the surround sound system, which is the Bose surround sound system, at least in this vehicle. And I thought it actually sounded pretty good. I feel like there are some other systems that might be a little bit better, just in terms of like bass, mid, and treble. I think overall, it was actually pretty good for the Bose.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the surround sound definitely envelops you in music, or in sound. And there is a lot of bass, which is something I'm a big fan of. I love bass. And we like to test our stereo systems with like techno music, and overall it handled really well. There wasn't any time where the speakers crackled, or there wasn't any times where it like almost sounded like the sound system was going to give out. It just felt really, really well tuned. I would definitely give Hyundai preps for this Bose sound system.
So if you're really into sound, I would say definitely look at the limited trim. We have driven the SE and SEL trims, and the stereo is pretty adequate in there, but I would say if you're an audiophile, definitely go for the Bose sound system in the limited trim.
Yeah, Absolutely. So we are waiting at a red light, and Tyler is going to do an acceleration into the turn, which should highlight the H-Track all-wheel drive system that this IONIQ 5 has. This has plenty of horsepower, plenty of torque, and overall it will get up to speed very quickly. I believe 0 to 60 is under 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Just switch it into sport mode, so we'll see if sport mode makes a difference in the drive selectors here on the steering wheel.
There's so much torque. There's so much power.
And with the IONIQ 5 Limited being all-wheel drive in its configuration, you definitely feel all four wheels giving you the exact amount of traction that you need and power at the same time. So coming out of a corner, that all-wheel drive gives you the grip and control that you need from an electric car, which is nice. And even though this IONIQ 5, the suspension is more comfort-oriented, I would say it actually does really well in the twisties. You feel a little bit of body roll because it is more comfort-oriented, but you can still have a lot of fun in this SUV.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap up this driver impressions, I just want to say how jealous I am that I didn't realize it had a sport mode. So, and that is changed using a little knob on the steering wheel. So I will remember that for next time. So if you're looking for spirited driving, drive your IONIQ 5 in sport mode.
But overall, I think for the amount of tech that Hyundai gives you and the features that Hyundai gives you in the IONIQ 5 Limited, it is definitely worth, I think, the price of $55,000.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And one other thing we do want to point out too is just the amount of looks people give you when you drive this vehicle. It looks very unique on the road, and it is an eye catcher. So just definitely be prepared if you do purchase an IONIQ 5 to have a lot of attention come your way.
Especially in the matte shooting star color like we have today. It's definitely a looker, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to highlight here too in the IONIQ 5 Limited is you get a 360 camera, like top-down view. And it's also really easy to park this car. I feel like you have a good range of motion from the steering, so you actually have good lock-to-lock ratio, which is nice in the EV because some EVs you don't get all, you can't do quick, easy three-point turns, but I think in this vehicle you can. But it's really nice. You have parking sensors in the back, but this is really helpful for all those tight parking spaces. Overall, we were really impressed with our first drive of the Hyundai IONIQ 5 Limited, and we definitely look forward to the day where we could have one for a full week's worth of testing. We think it's a fantastic value for what it offers, especially for the price point and all the technology that Hyundai is including in the IONIQ 5. We think this will be helpful for drivers whether you are commuting or taking it on a road trip. We hope that you enjoyed the first drive of the IONIQ 5 Limited, and we appreciate you for watching this video. Please be sure to consider subscribing to our CleanTechnica YouTube channel and also follow us on all of our other socials as well.